The last thing Thomas Richardson expected during his routine maintenance shift at the International Space Station's debris collection facility was to trigger an interstellar diplomatic crisis. But as he would later reflect, that's exactly what happens when you're dealing with a universe that apparently runs on cosmic irony. It started as a perfectly normal Tuesday in 2047. Thomas was performing his weekly check on the Orbital Cleanup Network (OCN), a system of sophisticated nets and magnetic fields designed to catch space debris before it could damage satellites or spacecraft. The system had been operational for 3 years and had become humanity's pride and joy in space maintenance technology. OCN diagnostic sequence initiated, Thomas announced into his log recorder, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. All sectors showing normal activity. Sector 7 collection rate is up 15% from last week. Making a note to, he stopped mid-sentence as his instruments registered something unusual. A massive energy signature had just appeared at the edge of their detection range. "Control, are you seeing this?" Thomas called down to Earth, his eyes fixed on the rapidly changing readings. "We've got something big out there, and it's definitely not debris." The response from Houston came after a brief delay. "Affirmative, Thomas. We're tracking an object approximately 300 kilometers from your position. It's not matching any known satellite or spacecraft signatures." That's when Thomas saw it through the observation window, a vessel that looked like someone had taken every sci-fi movie ever made and merged them into one impossibly elegant design. It was beautiful, terrifying, and completely alien. The vessel approached cautiously, seemingly studying the OCN's collection fields. Thomas watched in fascination as several smaller craft emerged from the larger ship, their sleek forms gliding through space with impossible grace. "Control, please tell me we have a protocol for this," Thomas whispered, his heart pounding. The silence from Earth was not reassuring. Suddenly, his communication system crackled to life with a series of musical tones that somehow transformed themselves into English. "Attention Earth Defense Facility," a melodious voice announced. "This is Observer Nixus of the Galactic Survey Corps. We are impressed by your weapon system sophistication." Thomas blinked. "Weapon system? This is a garbage collector." There was a long pause. "Your attempts at deception are noted, but unnecessary," Observer Nixus continued. "We have been monitoring your debris collection network for some time. The ability to manipulate gravitational fields with such precision, to capture and neutralize incoming objects, truly remarkable for a species at your development stage." "No, really," Thomas insisted, "we just use it to clean up old satellite parts and rocket pieces. It's basically a giant space vacuum cleaner." Another pause, longer this time. When Nixus spoke again, their voice carried what Thomas could only interpret as barely concealed anxiety. "You expect us to believe that you developed a planetary-scale defensive grid to collect trash?" "Well, when you put it that way, it does sound a bit weird," Thomas admitted. "But yes. Space debris is a real problem for us. Would you like me to show you how it works?" The alien vessels suddenly backed away in perfect synchronization. "Your offer to demonstrate your weapon system is appreciated but unnecessary. The Galactic Survey Corps will be reviewing our findings extensively." Before Thomas could protest further, the ships vanished in a flash of light that definitely violated several laws of physics. He stood there for a moment, staring at the now empty space where humanity's first alien contact had just occurred. His communication system chimed. "Thomas," Houston's voice came through, sounding strained, "would you mind explaining why we just received a priority message from something called the Galactic Council congratulating Earth on developing the most sophisticated defensive grid they've seen in 3 millennia?" Thomas sighed deeply. "Control, you're going to want to sit down for this one. And maybe get the UN on the line. Also, possibly a therapist." As he began his explanation, Thomas couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of what would prove to be humanity's most awkward introduction to galactic society. He was right, but he had no idea just how right he was going to be. News of the Earth defense grid spread through the galactic community faster than a quantum particle through superspace. Within days of Thomas Richardson's awkward first contact, the United Nations found itself dealing with an unprecedented situation, explaining to a terrified galactic community that humans were, in fact, just really concerned about keeping their orbit tidy. Janice Wong, the newly appointed head of the hastily assembled Human Galactic Relations Committee, was having what she would charitably describe as a challenging week. Currently, she was trying to explain Earth's recycling programs to a panel of increasingly alarmed alien observers. As you can see, Janice gestured to the presentation screen showing various recycling centers around the world. We simply sort different materials and process them for reuse. It's basic resource management. The alien delegation, consisting of representatives from 12 different species, watched in what appeared to be horror as the video showed massive crushing machines compacting metal cans. You deliberately destroy and reconstitute matter on a planetary scale? Asked Thrix, a being who appeared to be made primarily of crystalline structures and barely contained anxiety. And you've been doing this, routinely? Well, yes, Janice replied, wondering how this had become her life. It's better for the environment. We try to be eco-friendly. Eco-friendly, repeated Zilvax, a floating orb of swirling gases. You reshape matter itself in the name of planetary preservation. There was a distinct note of terror in their synthesized voice. Look, Janice tried again, it's really not that impressive. We just. Not impressive, interrupted MX, quartz within storm, their crystalline appendages vibrating with emotion. Your species has industrialized matter transformation across an entire planet, and you claim this is mundane? The delegation erupted into worried whispers. Janice caught fragments like matter manipulation capabilities and planetary-scale transmutation being thrown around. She put her head in her hands and wished, not for the first time that week, that she'd chosen a different career path. Meanwhile, in orbit, Thomas was dealing with his own problems. The OCN had become something of a tourist attraction for passing alien vessels, who would drop out of faster-than-light travel just to observe what they believed to be humanity's greatest military achievement. No, please don't scan it again, Thomas pleaded with yet another alien research vessel. It's just nets and magnets. Really? Your humility is admirable, came the response, but our readings clearly show sophisticated gravitational manipulation technology. That's just basic electromagnetic fields. Thomas protested. We learned about them in high school physics. This apparently made things worse, as the alien vessel quickly retreated while broadcasting something about militarized education systems. Back on Earth, the situation was escalating. Social media had exploded with alien tourism, as visitors from across the galaxy arrived to witness what they believed to be demonstrations of Earth's matter manipulation prowess. A video of a garbage truck compacting its load went viral across 17 star systems, labeled as "terrifying display of Earth's matter compression technology." The final straw came during a routine recycling demonstration. Janice had organized it hoping to finally convince the galactic community that humans were not, in fact, masters of matter manipulation. Instead, it backfired spectacularly. And here, the facility manager explained to the alien observers, we sort plastics by type N. They can identify and categorize molecular structures by sight, one of the observers screamed, their bioluminescent spots flashing in panic. It's just the recycling numbers stamped on the bottom, Janice tried to explain, but it was too late. The observers had already fled, presumably to report this new and terrifying human capability to their superiors. That evening, Janice sat in her office, staring at a report titled, Current Galactic Threat Assessments of Earth's Recycling Programs. The document was 500 pages long and used the word terrifying 347 times. Her phone rang. It was Thomas from the space station. "Hey," he said, sounding tired. "Quick question. Why is my inbox full of messages from something called the Galactic Defense Coalition asking about our matter restructuring training programs?" Janice poured herself another coffee. "Remember how we thought explaining the OCN was just space debris collection would make things better? Yeah. Turns out telling advanced alien civilizations that humans regularly destroy and reconstitute matter for fun isn't great for diplomatic relations either." There was a long pause. "We're never going to convince them we're just neat freaks with a recycling hobby, are we?" At this point, Janice sighed. "I'm pretty sure we could show them a kindergarten craft project, and they'd interpret it as evidence of molecular engineering expertise." As if to prove her point, her computer chimed with a new urgent message. Someone had shown the alien delegation a paper shredder. The resulting panic had caused 3 diplomatic incidents and 1 minor gravitational anomaly. Janice looked at her coffee, looked at the message, and decided that some problems were best left for tomorrow. After all, it wasn't every day that humanity accidentally convinced the galaxy they were masters of matter manipulation through aggressive recycling programs. Little did she know, this was just the beginning of Earth's reputation for turning mundane activities into apparent displays of terrifying technological prowess. The United Nations General Assembly had seen its share of unusual sessions over the years, but none quite like this. The historic first formal meeting between Earth's representatives and the Galactic Council was about to begin, and tensions were running high. Literally high. Several of the alien delegates were floating near the ceiling due to what they claimed was anxiety-induced anti-gravitational discharge. Ambassador Richard Martinez stood at the podium, trying to maintain his diplomatic composure while watching a delegation from Proxima Centauri demonstrate what appeared to be interpretive dance in their environmental suits. The past week of preparation had done little to prepare him for this moment. "Distinguished delegates of the Galactic Council," he began, "we are honored to." "Energy weapon," screamed one of the delegates, diving under their floating platform as Martinez's microphone produced a slight feedback squeal. No, that's just audio feedback," Martinez hurried to explain. "It happens sometimes with our sound system." "You weaponized sound itself," gasped Ambassador VRRZTK, their crystalline form vibrating with concern. "Most impressive, and disturbing." Martinez shot a desperate look at Janice Wong, who was frantically typing notes on her tablet. She just shrugged helplessly. They'd spent days preparing for this meeting, but somehow, explaining basic audio technology hadn't made it onto their agenda. "Perhaps," suggested High Counselor Zilfix, a being composed primarily of shifting geometric patterns, "we should address the primary concern, Earth's apparent mastery of matter and energy manipulation, as evidenced by their, what was it called? Ah yes, entertainment industry." Martinez blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" A holographic display activated in the center of the chamber, showing footage from various human television shows and movies. "Our analysis of your broadcast signals has revealed disturbing capabilities," Zilfix continued. "You possess technology to capture and redistribute reality itself through these screens." "Those are just movies," Martinez explained, feeling a headache coming on. "They're not real. We use special effects and you can alter reality for entertainment?" The entire Betelgeusian delegation changed color in unison, shifting from a calm blue to an alarmed magenta. No, it's all fake. It's just computer graphics and they can command computers to reshape reality." The chamber erupted into chaos. Several delegates began emergency transmission procedures to their home worlds, while others initiated what appeared to be ritual panic protocols. One representative, who appeared to be a sentient cloud of mathematical equations, was quietly solving complex calculus problems in the corner, apparently their species' version of stress relief. Janice stood up, grabbed the microphone, and whistled sharply. The feedback made 3 delegates faint and caused a minor temporal distortion in the corner of the room. "Everyone, please calm down," she said, using her best dealing with panicked aliens voice, which she'd unfortunately had plenty of practice with lately. "Let me show you how movies are made." This, as it turned out, was a mistake. The behind-the-scenes footage of green screens, CGI rendering, and practical effects only convinced the alien delegates that humans had mastered dimensional manipulation, light sculpting, and reality grafting. By the time they got to the makeup effects demonstration, 2 more species had added Earth to their existential threats registry. "So you're saying," clarified Ambassador Thrix, their crystalline structure now a concerning shade of worried purple, "that you regularly alter the fundamental appearance of your own species, for fun?" "It's just makeup and prosthetics," Janice tried to explain. "It's not real transformation. They can modify their physical forms at will," Thrix whispered to their aide. "Add that to the report." The situation reached its peak when someone accidentally played a clip of a blooper reel. The sound of human laughter echoing through the chamber caused immediate panic. "Mass psychic manipulation," shouted one delegate. "Emotional warfare," screamed another. "Synchronized neural pattern disruption," added a third, who was now hiding behind their translator device. Martinez watched in helpless resignation as the carefully planned diplomatic meeting devolved into intergalactic chaos. A group of delegates had barricaded themselves behind their anti-gravity platforms, another was attempting to initiate emergency quantum tunneling procedures, and the mathematical cloud was now solving differential equations at an alarming rate. In orbit, Thomas Richardson received yet another strange message on his console. "Control," he called down to Earth, "why am I getting requests from 17 different species asking about Earth's reality manipulation licensing procedures? Remember how we thought explaining movies would help prove we're not super advanced?" Janice replied, her voice tired. "Turns out showing aliens how we fake things is somehow worse than letting them think we can actually do them. How is that possible? Apparently, being able to manipulate reality for entertainment purposes is more terrifying than manipulating it for practical reasons. Also, they think laughter is a psychic attack now." Thomas was silent for a moment. "You know, I'm starting to think we might be accidentally taking over the galaxy through sheer misunderstanding." "That's ridiculous," Janice said, watching as another delegate attempted to shield themselves from a nearby human's smile with what appeared to be a portable quantum field generator. "Though, you might want to stop showing alien tourists cat videos." The last bunch became convinced we've mastered biological engineering after watching one jump into a box. As the UN session dissolved into what would later be termed the Great Reality Entertainment Panic of 2047, Earth's reputation in the galaxy continued to grow. Humanity had somehow managed to convince the galactic community that they were masters of reality manipulation, all because they couldn't properly explain the concept of special effects. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, the first intergalactic movie piracy warning was being drafted, complete with dire warnings about unauthorized reality manipulation and illegal dimensional grafting. If the Galactic Council thought they understood the true extent of humanity's powers, after the UN debacle, the events that would become known as the Coffee Incident were about to shatter their existing theories entirely. It began, as many earth-shaking events do, on a Monday morning at the newly established Interstellar Relations Office in downtown Seattle. Dr. Samira Patel, the office's lead xenoanthropologist, was dealing with her usual morning headache, both figurative and literal, as she hadn't had her coffee yet. The alien observation team assigned to study human cognitive enhancement practices watched from behind their protective shields as she zombie-walked to the break room. Subject appears to be operating at reduced capacity, noted observer Zithna, their tentacles typing rapidly on a holocomputer. Possible evidence of diurnal power cycling. Observing primitive state before enhancement ritual, added junior observer Yelmik, adjusting their sensor arrays. They had been studying human office behavior for 3 weeks and were convinced they were on the verge of a breakthrough discovery about Earth's productivity enhancement technology. They watched intently as Samira approached the office coffee maker, a fancy new model that had replaced the old one after the espresso machine incident, which had convinced 3 alien species that humans had mastered plasma containment technology. Commencing morning enhancement procedure, Samira muttered to herself, completely unaware that her casual comment was causing the observers to frantically update their reports about confirmed ritual invocation phrases. The coffee maker hummed to life, its gentle brewing sounds sending the alien observers into a frenzy of data collection. Device is generating quantum resonance patterns. Zithna exclaimed, their sensors obviously misinterpreting the simple vibrations of the coffee maker. Look at the color of the enhancement fluid, Yelmick whispered in awe. Pure darkness. It must be incredibly powerful. Samira took her first sip of coffee, closed her eyes in satisfaction, and immediately straightened up, her early morning fog clearing. Oh yeah, that's the good stuff. The observers watched in horror and fascination as she transformed from a shuffling, barely functional human into a productive, alert professional in a matter of minutes. Their sensors were going crazy trying to measure what they believed to be a massive cognitive enhancement field. The transformation is immediate. Zithna's report practically screamed in panic. They have mastered instantaneous neural reconfiguration through liquid transmission. The situation escalated when other office workers began arriving, each performing their own enhancement ritual. The observers' collective anxiety reached new heights as they witnessed what they interpreted as a mass consumption of cognitive acceleration fluid. Things really got out of hand when Tracy from accounting walked in with a tray of coffee for her entire department. Mass distribution of enhancement substances. Yelmick's emergency broadcast cut through all official channels. They're sharing the power source. Within hours, the Galactic Council received an emergency report titled Cognitive Enhancement and Neural Manipulation, the True Extent of Human Power. It was filled with detailed analyses of what the observers called the sacred brown liquid, and its apparent ability to transform humans from shambling automatons into high-functioning beings. Back in orbit, Thomas Richardson was enjoying his own morning coffee when his console lit up with urgent messages. Control, he sighed into his communicator, why am I receiving urgent inquiries about Earth's neural enhancement fluid distribution networks? Janice Wong's tired voice came through. Remember how we thought letting alien observers study normal office behavior would help convince them we're just regular people? Let me guess, they found out about coffee? Worse. They think we've mastered instantaneous cognitive enhancement through liquid transmission. The Galactic Council just classified Starbucks as a neural enhancement distribution center. Also, apparently, we're now suspected of running a galaxy-wide conspiracy through our cafe networks. Thomas looked at his own coffee mug, which featured a cartoon cat saying, I can't adult without coffee. The mug had already convinced another alien species that humans had mastered consciousness transfer into inanimate objects. Should we try explaining that it's just a mild stimulant? Oh, it gets better, Janice continued. Someone showed them decaf. How is that worse? They now think we've developed a way to remove the power essence from the enhancement fluid while maintaining its ritual significance. 3 species have submitted formal requests to study our essence extraction technology. In the Seattle office, Samira was still unaware of the panic she had caused as she prepared for her second cup of coffee. The observers had retreated to their ship to file an emergency report about multiple doses of neural enhancement and escalating power levels. The situation reached its peak when someone brought in an energy drink. The observers' sensors literally short-circuited trying to measure what they believed to be weaponized enhancement fluid, and their ship initiated an emergency quantum jump out of sheer terror. As reports spread across the galaxy about humanity's mastery over consciousness and liquid-based neural enhancement network, Earth's reputation grew even more fearsome. Humanity had somehow managed to convince the galaxy that they were masters of mind control, all because they couldn't function properly before their morning coffee. And somewhere in deep space, a group of alien scientists was frantically trying to understand how a species could simultaneously be advanced enough to manipulate consciousness through liquid transmission, yet primitive enough to need it just to handle basic morning meetings. 6 months after the coffee incident, humanity's reputation in the galaxy had reached mythical proportions. Earth had been classified as a Class X civilization, a designation created specifically for a species that appeared to casually manipulate reality, matter, and consciousness while claiming they were just trying to keep their planet tidy and stay awake during meetings. The breakthrough finally came from an unexpected source, an alien graduate student named ZYX-427 Beta, who insisted on being called Bob after binge-watching too many Earth sitcoms. Bob was working on their doctoral thesis titled Understanding Human Power, a comprehensive analysis of Earth's technological miracles, when they noticed something that everyone else had missed. They were reviewing footage of Thomas Richardson's original space station encounter while drinking their first-ever cup of coffee, under strictly controlled laboratory conditions, of course. "Wait a minute," Bob muttered, their crystalline form vibrating with caffeine and excitement. "Computer, cross-reference all documented human, technological demonstrations with their explanations." The results were startling. Bob spent the next 3 days analyzing the data, fueled by what they now understood was just a pleasant stimulant and not, in fact, liquid consciousness enhancement. Their conclusion was so controversial that the Galactic Council convened an emergency session to hear it. "Distinguished members of the Council," Bob began, standing before the assembled representatives of thousands of worlds, "I believe we've made a terrible mistake. Or rather, a wonderful one." The chamber stirred uneasily. High Counselor Zilfix leaned forward. "Explain." "Humans aren't masters of reality manipulation, matter transformation, or neural enhancement," Bob declared. "They're masters of inefficiency." The chamber erupted in confused murmuring. "Think about it," Bob continued excitedly. "Every single, advanced technology we've attributed to them is actually a solution to a problem they created themselves. Their orbital defense grid? It's cleaning up their own space debris. Their matter manipulation systems? They're dealing with excess packaging and waste. Their neural enhancement fluid? It's compensating for their refusal to follow optimal sleep cycles." Janice Wong, who was attending the session as Earth's representative, suddenly found herself trying very hard to maintain a diplomatic expression while realizing that humanity's entire technological development was being described as essentially a very elaborate series of cleaning supplies. "But their power," protested one delegate. "We've seen them transform their planet." "Yes," Bob exclaimed. "Because they made a mess first. Don't you see? It's brilliant. They've achieved things we thought impossible because they never got the memo about what was supposed to be impossible. They didn't develop matter manipulation technology, they just really needed to figure out recycling because they made too much trash." Thomas Richardson's voice came through on the chamber's communication system. "You know, they might have a point. Yesterday I had to explain to an alien research vessel that duct tape isn't actually a form of molecular bonding technology." The council chamber was silent as this new perspective sank in. Then Ambassador Thrix started laughing, a sound like wind chimes in a hurricane. Others joined in, and soon the chamber was filled with the various sounds of multiple species experiencing simultaneous revelation. "So," Zilfix said finally, "humans aren't an advanced civilization hiding their true power. They're just very dedicated to solving problems they could have avoided in the first place." "Exactly." Bob beamed. "And that's what makes them amazing. Think about it, they turned cleaning up their own messes into technologies that we thought were impossible. They didn't achieve these things because they're advanced, they achieved them because they didn't know they couldn't." "I feel I should be offended," Janice commented, "but they're not exactly wrong. The revelation changed everything. Suddenly, Earth wasn't seen as a terrifying powerhouse of reality manipulation, but as something the galaxy found even more fascinating, a species that had accidentally stumbled into advancement through sheer determination to fix their own mistakes. Trade agreements were signed. Cultural exchange programs were established. Alien universities started offering courses in human problem-solving methodology, which mostly consisted of creating problems and then finding incredibly complex ways to solve them. Earth's coffee shops became popular tourist destinations, not because anyone thought they were neural enhancement centers anymore, but because the galaxy had developed a taste for what they now understood was just a pleasant beverage that helped with poor sleep choices. The orbital cleanup network became a model for similar systems across the galaxy, not as a weapons platform but as what it had always been, a really good way to clean up space junk. And Thomas Richardson? He was promoted to head of interstellar relations at the space station, where he spent most of his time explaining to alien visitors that yes, humans really did launch themselves into space using controlled explosions because it seemed like a good idea at the time. You know, he said to Janice during one of their regular video calls, I think we've finally found our place in the galaxy. As the species that does everything the hard way? As the species that proves impossible things are possible by not realizing they're supposed to be impossible, he corrected. Also, apparently the Galactic Council is very interested in our pizza delivery system. They think it might revolutionize small-scale matter transportation. Should we tell them it's just people in cars? Let's let Bob handle that one, Thomas grinned. They seem to have a knack for explaining human inefficiency in a way that makes us sound brilliant. And so, Earth found its place in the galactic community not as a terrifying superpower, but as that one species that everyone found simultaneously baffling and inspiring, the civilization that achieved the impossible through a combination of making mistakes and being really, really determined to fix them. It wasn't quite the first contact scenario anyone had expected, but then again, nothing about humanity ever was.